I took a couple of classes, and what by my house where I live, they had a studio called Yoga Vibe on Hillhurst. It's still there, and I decided that I'm just gonna take their teacher training because the teacher, Carrie Janelle, her teacher training included Ayurveda, which is the medical science of yoga, the sister science of yoga.
Okay.
So, and Ayurveda is what really fascinates me right now and drives my passion of learning. I'm literally learning Ayurveda right now. Um, the word Ayurveda is Sanskrit, and it comes from two words, Ayur meaning life and Veda meaning knowledge. So it's translated to life knowledge. And so Ayurveda uses yoga poses, prescribes them to patients, and uses them for treatments. It could be for starting from scoliosis to emotional problems too, like someone has ADD, for example. So they can use certain postures to calm themselves down or to focus, to get more into focus. Any like balancing exercises or any grounding on the floor postures, they kind of help you focus more better.
Is that a common
So
thing that the Ayurveda wellness is that?
Ayurveda is they have I think records. It's basically, I think they have records that go back, that's possibly 5 to 7,000 years old.
Hmm.
Um, so they have written records of it on banana leaves, and they have archives of information of the different diseases. For example, diabetes. They have 20 different types of diabetes and where it comes from. So they have extensive amount of information and you can compare it with allopathic medicine, and it's very similar. Or the difference is Ayurveda describes it differently. So you can really, they break it down to the elements. Everything is composed of the 5 elements. So in everything, especially the human body, it's like you've got space. So space is inside the eyes. There's space in the lungs. There's space, and there's space in the intestines. There's space in the bones, bone structure, and then you've got air, which is in the lungs again, and there's oxygen again throughout the body, and then you've got fire, and fire is the metabolism, how fast the cells eat and burn calories, and that's kind of like how they explain it. And then they have water, and water's everything else, and then earth would be your bones and your teeth and your hair and your nails. So Ayurveda has a really cool way of explaining how the human body works. And according to Ayurveda, there's this timeline or an order of how the body makes the cells. For example, when you first eat food, the food goes into the body 5 days. First, it becomes so within the first 5 days, it becomes part of your white serum, like the white part of your blood. When you divide the blood, there's white serum, red plasma serum. So it becomes the plasma. Then the next 5 days, it builds the red blood cells. They're in order. And then after the red blood cells, it builds the muscle cells. Then after the muscle cells, whatever's left over goes to the fat cells. Then after the fat cells goes to the bones. Then from the bone marrow from the bones, it goes to the bone marrow. Then after the bone marrow is built, it goes to the reproductive vital fluids. So for men and women, whatever the fluid is. So basically, each one takes 5 days. So from the day you eat, say, your food, that's so they want to like 5 times 7, so there's 7 tissues orders. So at by the end of day 35, it still affects your body. It's still in your system. It's building the tissues. It's going from one tissue to the other, basically. If this tissue doesn't need it, it sends it off to the other one. This uses it. If it's done with it, it sends it off to the other one. Whatever's left sends it to the other one. So if you're not eating enough or properly, maybe that last tissue isn't going to get, the best that it needs,
Right.
basically. So, and then it's just the whole, it's like so vast. I mean, so because of the teacher training, having this Ayurvedic background, that's how I started getting more and more into it. So right now, what I do is basically, I still do physical therapy in the clinic. I see patients, shoulder pain, neck pain, however, I see them with a different perspective. I advise them to do exercises, and then I also say, well, what's your diet like? What's your lifestyle? So Ayurveda is not just about the eating part, the food. It's also about your lifestyle. For example, we have a circadian rhythm. So like a internal clock. If the body is resting, if the body's supposed to be resting but it's not, it's going to have conflicts of like getting the job done. For example, if you're not sleeping by 10 o'clock, which is the time where you should be resting, you can increase the quote unquote fire, which is the heat, almost like the inflammation in the body. And if you stay up, it's not going to be good for the liver and the small intestine, because it starts to overwork the liver. You're stimulating the liver, which should be sleeping, and the body should be sleeping and resting. However, you're up, and so the liver is like overworking. And then when it's time, when finally you do go to sleep, it's not the liver time anymore. It's another organ time where it works. So it's it's like the window of opportunity for you to rest, but you don't do it, and so you get to miss that chance of. And it's okay if you do it once in a while, but if you start doing it every day, then and on top of that, let's say you drink and you do this and you do that, then it starts to take a toll, and it shows up. First, it shows up with vague symptoms, but then over time, it becomes more and more prominent. So, basically, I try to help them with that too. I give them a little advice on lifestyle and what will help them feel better. Like sometimes they'll have joint pain, arthritis, and arthritis can be a result of not having enough, or maybe too much constipation, let's just say. And that has, allopathic doctor would say that has nothing to do with joint pain, arthritis, but it has a lot to do with joint pain, because in Ayurveda, the colon is connected with the bones. So where the colon is where the large intestine is where the minerals get absorbed. So calcium, magnesium, zinc, and phosphorus. So they all go to the bones directly. So if you have constipation and like increased air, and you're not getting the proper nutrition from your colon, you're going to have problems with your bones. So that's kind of like how Ayurveda ties or looks at the body and talks about, it also teaches you in a way how to take care of yourself for the rest of your life. Because once you know certain things, you can always go back to them and make sure you're doing them correctly. Like it's kind of like my teacher likes to say, the manual of your your body, your physical, he calls it your spacesuit, you know, like, or your Halloween costume for this lifetime. So, yeah, there's a manual for it and how to live, and that's what Ayurveda does.
Yeah, the reason I asked regarding if it's a common thing, because prior to, because I was talking with Armand, I think it was yesterday or something, and he mentioned that you do that, and then I was like, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, not a lot of people have.
Yeah,
it's very new, but a lot of Armenians in Armenia actually know about it, and a lot of it was actually pretty popular back in the 70s. In Germany, it's very popular. The World Health Organization actually derived their definition of health from Ayurveda, and they have recognized it as the traditional medicine. And there was several countries like Russia, France, I think Germany. I'm not sure if it's Sweden or Switzerland, and India recently adopted Ayurveda as part of their national healthcare system. So basically, if you have the insurance, it covers it.
Oh, okay.
Which is great. But here, there's a long way. So.
Yeah, because when you said it's new, you mean new as in like it's becoming more of a thing now?
I think it's becoming, people are getting more aware of it. There is a certain amount of awareness that I'm seeing myself, as opposed to before, say 10 years ago or 15 years ago. I personally got treated myself. Again, for different reasons, digestive reasons. And I saw results, and I'm really happy with it. And then what really got me to decide to learn more about it is my dad's journey with it. And he's still going through it, but about a year ago, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's in, I think, 2013, or no, maybe, sorry, about a little bit, basically about 5 to 7 years ago. And I knew he had it before he got diagnosed because his hand was shaking, and I knew what it was. As a PT, we learn about those things and the symptoms. So I was really like, I hope it's not, but it was. So finally, 2 years after we went to the doctor's like, yeah, it's Parkinson's. Okay. So he started taking levodopa and carbidopa, which are dopamines. And dopamines are basically like legal drugs from the streets. He has to take it, and when he takes it, it feels better. He doesn't shake. So I don't know if you know about Parkinson's, but Parkinson's is basically the decrease of the brain producing dopamine, which is, our brain's supposed to produce it all the time, but it stops producing and it starts to decrease. So there are a number of reasons why this happens. So when he was taking it, his shaking would stop, but then he had to up the doses. Like every few months, he had to go and they increased the dose. It went from like 3 pills a day to 9 pills a day.
Was that just because the body became more and more reliant on it?
Yes, the body becomes more dependent, and it becomes more desensitized in a way. So you have to just take more and more. There's no other way. And eventually, I had patients that had Parkinson's, and they used to take, I don't know, 12 pills or however many. And there comes a point where the pills don't help anymore. So they're just uncontrollably shaking. So in my dad's situation, I couldn't bear the thought of him going into that direction and becoming bedbound or wheelchair and whatnot. So having really strong belief in Ayurveda, I was like, let's try this. And for some reason, luckily, I'm blessed with a father who was open to it, and he was willing to change or try something. and we did it. He like my mom helped with the diet, and we made all these mixes like milk and garlic, home remedies, and he was taking herbs too with liquid fluid, some sort of medicine, and then he went through 2 treatments of abhyanga, which is warm oil, medicated oil massage of the whole body. And then the other one was another massage, but it requires like a ball of rice. You put the rice in the oil, and then you hit the body with the rice, the 2 rice balls. I guess what. So I forgot the names. They all have names. So they basically what the oil is supposed to do is the oil nourishes the nervous system. The oil feeds the myelin sheath, which is a covering on the nerve cells. Imagine a nerve is a wire. It's got the beginning and the end. So the wire has this myelin sheath, which is this rubbery covering, and it's insulating and allows the message to go through the electricity. So if this gets interrupted, the electricity doesn't travel as well, and that's what kind of happens with multiple sclerosis or ALS. So the oil feeds the myelin sheath and insulates it and makes it easier for the electrical signals to go through. So sure enough, we saw like positive results, like within a few months, maybe 2 to 3 months. His shaking started getting better. His memory, his skin, everything just started much, to a point where his the practitioner actually started telling him to decrease his medication, the dosage. And so of course we're like taking a risk here, but he decreased it just a little bit. Nothing happened. He was good. The symptoms didn't get worse. So, and then a little bit later, he decreased a little bit more. So he went from like 9 pills a day down to 3 pills a day.
Oh, awesome.
So that was very encouraging. And it was very like, wow, and then in the process, after we were done with the treatments, I was like begging. He smoked. He even smoked at the time, and he still got really good results. So I was begging him to please stop smoking, you'll get much better, and da-da-da. So he actually even did that. After 50 years of like not smoking, he was able to quit with everybody's help and everything. So I give him props. He really stuck through it. So we're still not done. There's a process called panchakarma, which is really kind of a very strong cleanse of the body, an extreme where they do like stomach cleanse, colon cleanse, and they hit the body from all directions of treatment, because it's not, you don't just treat through medicine, herbs. You can treat the body through light therapy, sound therapy, and they use all of those therapies now in different places where they just specialize in those things. And there's oil massage therapy, and there's marma therapy, which is points on the body, where those points are actually like where there's nerve plexus crossing, like a bundle of nerves that are crossed there. So those points, when you press on them, each one triggers different things. So marma therapy is another thing that I'm really interested in. Maybe one day, maybe. But so there's marma therapy, and then there's yoga. So you have to do yoga too. When you're doing Ayurveda, yoga is a major part of it, physical. And not to mention lifestyle, sleeping early, waking up early, and finally the food. Once you're done taking the herbs, the food becomes your medicine. There's an Ayurvedic proverb that says, it goes something like, with proper food and lifestyle, medicine is of no need. With improper food and lifestyle, medicine is of no use. So even if you use it, it's not going to help you because it's only a band-aid effect. It's not, you're not getting to the root of the problem, which is your lifestyle and your food. So food is kind of, it should be fun to eat, but you should also look at it as in, how do I heal my body with the food? So if you think of it that way, I've felt the difference because we eat all the time. Food is the number one thing that affects the body. You are what you eat, literally. You will get results when you change the way you eat. There's no doubt about it. If you always eat French fries, you will definitely see the results. If you always eat hamburgers, you'll definitely see it. So yes, you can totally affect your body with food. And that's what Ayurveda does. And like